We shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control, 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 in weather control.
I shouldn't be up here. How dare you? How dare you?
ABC News has reported that if Joe Biden declares a national climate emergency, he would have COVID-like powers under that emergency, and they also compared the emergency powers to the 9/11 emergency powers.
Hopefully, even though I know we will have another pandemic, it's not going to be one that has multiple successive variants.
Bill Gates.
Fertility rate is actually shrinking.
Slowest growth of the American population since the 1930s.
The lowest rate of population growth since the nation's founding. Fertility rate dropped by nearly 60%. If this trend continues, sperm counts could reach zero.
In 2020, the birth rate dropped to its lowest level.
The population growth rate coming down quite a bit.
Will women just keep overpopulating the world?
The faster family size goes down and keeping children alive, would that create more of a population problem?
Throw in a pandemic, people are less likely to have babies in uncertain financial times.
For the first time in human history, we will be deliberately culling ourselves by having fewer babies than we need to reproduce.
Europe is basically losing people every year.
Sponsored by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
It's now come way, way down.
Sterilization has become one of the most prominent means of birth control.
So even if they wanted to turn it around, they can't.
And why wouldn't they?
The shock of global population decline, and we're delighted.
Issues related to population, reproductive health.
There's also been a huge decline in teenage births. There are less unintentional births than ever before.
My dad was head of Planned Parenthood.
Humans across the globe are becoming increasingly less fertile as toxic chemicals accumulate in our bodies.
Next time, we're really going to have some good vaccines for the next pandemic.
There will be another pandemic.
Absolutely.
That rate dropped dramatically.
First, we got population, new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services. We could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Presence of social media plus a pandemic is a combination that's never been tried before. If anything kills over 10 million people in the next few decades, it's most likely to be a highly infectious virus. If the population would get so big, maintaining the environment is going to be impossible.
Bill Gates is backing the first high-altitude experiment of one radical climate change solution, creating a massive chemical cloud that could cool the Earth. It's called solar geoengineering, and it's highly controversial.
How long will it be that countries keep experiencing these climate impacts before someone gets desperate and says, hey, we need to cool the planet with solar geoengineering?
It would look something like this. Thousands of planes would fly very high and use nozzles to inject millions of tons of light-reflecting particles into the stratosphere. It would create a thin chemical cloud of those particles around the whole planet, blocking some sunlight from reaching the surface. It would mimic a giant volcanic eruption, which we know cools the Earth.
The one thing that a lot of people have heard about, and nobody really knows what to think about it, but chemtrails is, are chemtrails real? And tell us about them.
Let's start with the appropriate place to start. What we're seeing in our skies are not condensation trails in almost all cases. They are sprayed particulate trails. We're not speculating. We have up-close film footage of military tankers and commercial, nozzles visible, turning on and off, geoengineeringwatch.org as a part of the film The Dimming. At great effort and expense, we acquired a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration flying lab, put top scientists in it, took samples at altitude behind heavy aircraft. We sampled what they were emitting. The sample was processed at one of the top testing institutions in the world. We found exactly what we knew we would find: climate engineering elements starting with aluminum, which is named in one of the most significant climate engineering patents. And the climate engineers themselves have stated their goal of putting tens of millions of tons of aluminum nanoparticles into the atmosphere annually as part of solar radiation management to block some of the sun's incoming thermal energy with no consideration of the consequences whatsoever.
We're all being bombarded with a cocktail of chemicals from on high. The allegation is that those white vapour trails in the sky left by aircraft are evidence of a government weather modification cover-up, and in the process we're all being slowly poisoned. So is this a baseless conspiracy theory or something sinister that we should be taking seriously?
First, I would start with the fact that we at geoengineeringwatch.org, the largest website in the world on the subject, don't recognize the chemtrails term. Semantics is important because if people search that term, they find conspiracy theory and hoax by design. So we advise sticking to the climate science terms: climate engineering, geoengineering, solar radiation management. In regard to the proof we have, in addition to having government documents, Senate documents, presidential documents, we have U.S. Air Force former generals, 2 former generals communicating with us. We have NASA satellite imagery like that, which you're showing right now, that clearly no one needs to know anything about meteorology to see that there's very unnatural patterns in those cloud formations, in fact, patterns that nature cannot make. In addition to our testing of precipitation from around the globe, which has yielded without exception the climate engineering components in the precipitation: aluminum, barium, strontium, polymer fibers. We have just at great expense and great effort completed atmospheric testing using a flying laboratory that NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, also uses, and we have just confirmed the same climate engineering elements that were emitted from aircraft in a layer that we flew through. We have just confirmed this, first type of its test ever. This is a court admissible type of evidence. I could go on, but the bottom line, in addition to all this, we have film footage of these aircraft at altitude turning on and off. You can't turn condensation on and off with the nozzles visible. As you see in that particular image you're showing now, you can see the nozzles on the wings. We have up-close photographs as well. If people don't believe what they see with their own eyes, I think there's not much we can show them.
Want some figures? Okay, latest water test. Tested the rain. 13,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum in the rain in 2013. Normally, it should be 0. So 13,100 is pretty damn much, folks. It used to be 0, then it was 100s in the 2000s, and then since 2010, it's into the 1,000s and the latest 13,100. In the snow on Mount Shasta, pristine Mount Shasta, 61,000 feet, no, excuse me, 8,000 foot level, 61,000 micrograms per liter, 4 times the amount that is found in the soil up there. Where in the hell is this stuff coming from if it's not coming from the soil? You know, these tests are international in scope. We're seeing this all over the world, guys. Okay, pH of acid soils is 20 times more alkaline. The aluminum in the soil has doubled in the last 10 years. Aluminum blocks essential nutrients. I am unable in my garden to restore normal pH, and that's because nanoparticles are now in the circulatory systems of both plants and humans. So welcome, fellow guinea pigs. The collapse and decrease of agriculture is something I worry about even more than the previous info about autism and Alzheimer's.
What do you say to the charge that if you are a climate change campaigner, but you also travel around the world in a private jet, you're a hypocrite?
Well, I buy the gold standard of funding Climeworks to do direct air capture that far exceeds my family's carbon footprint. And I spend billions of dollars on climate innovation. So, you know, should I stay at home and not come to Kenya and learn about farming and malaria? Anyway, I mean, I'm comfortable with the idea that not only am I not part of the problem by paying for the offsets, but also through the billions that my Breakthrough Energy group is spending, that I'm part of the solution.
What the hell are you anyway?
Oh, I know what you're thinking. Am I a Crip or am I a Blood?
No. What we want to know is, are you a brother or a sister?
Well, I'm an only child.
I'm Bill Gates.
NBC News has reported that if Joe Biden declares a national climate emergency, he would have COVID-like powers under that emergency, and they also compared the emergency powers to the 9/11 emergency powers. NBC News has reported that if Joe Biden declares a national climate emergency, he would have COVID-like powers under that emergency, and they also compared the emergency powers to the 9/11 emergency powers. The Center for Biological Diversity has estimated Joe Biden would get about 130 wartime-like powers by which to bypass democracy and impose a Green New Deal on America without a single vote of Congress. This is truly this is a Halloween story.
Remember how I said earlier in this speech that the farmers need to give up their farms before 2030, specifically that year? Yeah, so that's not a coincidence. That year doesn't come out of nowhere. So that year is basically the deadline that our global elites have given our country and will probably give you to abide by these new regulations. And that agenda is called the 2030 agenda.
Biden is making it rain in a sweltering desert by zapping clouds with electricity using drones.
Fascinating, isn't it? Let's talk about cloud seeding in general, because a lot of people, I don't think, understand what cloud seeding is. This has been going on for decades, by the way. This is not something that's brand new. But traditionally, what cloud seeding is, it involves using aircraft or drones or even some cannons to push silver iodide up high into the clouds. Why silver iodide? Because what that has the same crystallized structure as ice. So once it gets up into the clouds, it starts to accumulate ice on it and these large raindrops, which helps, especially in a cloud mass that's not really going to rain. It helps to bring rain and especially snow down. So it works. It does work. Marginally. But the problem with silver iodide through the years has been this, is that they feel it could be harmful to aquatic life. That they feel it could be harmful to aquatic life.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Here about HARP, the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. This is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facilities. To start with you, Dr. Prabhakar, I understand that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HARP does or why the agency is involved in it. So a very brief explanation.
One of our programs has been using the HARP facility for the research that it's pursuing. And my understanding is that we did get value out of that interaction.
Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility.
The Air Force has gotten great value out of HARP in the past. We took it over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there. Moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere, be able to actually control it. With DARPA completing their project, that's our last government customer that we have in the site.
It basically makes the ionosphere a laboratory, and we can do experiments that no one else can do. It's a laboratory without walls.
What? What?
scientists have begun to conduct a secret experiment which involves shooting aerosols up into the sky in the hope of preventing global warming. Specifically, this is a solar geoengineering experiment right outside of San Francisco that's trying to create brighter clouds that would, in theory at least, reflect more sunlight away from the Earth. It really is worth highlighting that this plan was not kept secret by accident. It wasn't that people just did not notice the flyers, or they didn't hear the public service announcements or the social media posts. Instead, the researchers behind this experiment were intentionally keeping the local public in the dark in order to stave off criticism. We're intentionally keeping the local public in the dark in order to stave off criticism.
That roar is not coming from a snow machine. Instead, the plume you see are tiny aerosol particles. It's the first technology in the country to test ways to brighten clouds in an effort to cool the globe.
There are currently 42 cloud seeding projects across the American West, like this one in Utah, where they take planes like this with flares attached. They fly right into the storm and send microscopic particles into the cloud.
At the University of Colorado, researchers are working on artificial intelligence to deploy cloud seeding drones.
And it's not just cloud seeding from the sky. There are hundreds of those things. That shack you see in the foreground is a ground-based cloud seeder. The little flame coming out is sending tiny silver iodide particles up into the sky. When a storm comes through, they go up to 2,000 feet above our head, into the storm, up those mountains, and make more snow than it naturally would.
About to go down, going all out, this is right now, yeah. Together we rise, it's about time, unleash the power.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.